The time for talking is over. It is back to the football, and Manchester City return to Premier League action to take on Aston Villa this weekend. Let's get into it, Blues. It's the preview. Let's go. Good evening and welcome to the Mancunian Way. We are back with football. It's always going to happen. We're back to the football. And good evening, everyone. I have got some guests waiting to come in. I'm just going to bring them in a moment. Good evening, Alan.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing?
Good evening, Nick. Oh, Alan's gone. That was a brief hello and goodbye. Back on the pitch, let's show everyone who we are. Come on, Nick. I love it. Well said, Nick. Let's all get behind Pep and the lot. Well, I just burp everywhere. I do apologise. Please like the stream, subscribe. Yes, super. Thank you, Michael Feeney, you legend. Good evening, boys. I'm just going to do these and then I'll bring Alan back in. Don't know where Alan's gone. FIFA, good evening, mate. Adam Quinn, come on, guys, get the likes up. Please be respectful in the chat. It is time for a beer, says Adam Quinn. Yeah, go on. Hello, Michael, to everyone in the chat as well. Being in Dublin can be hard with all these bloody Liverpool. I can imagine. I can imagine, mate. Don't you let it bug you. We could hammer Villa 5-0, or Villa could grind out a draw or a win. Come on, Sean, let's be positive tonight, mate. Foden must have slept with Pep's wife. Come on now. FIFA, there's obviously something going on behind the scenes with Foden. We're just going to leave all that there for the moment. FIFA's gone with 9-0. Alec Johnson, good evening. Big Morgan, hello, chaps. Cheryl, again, big thank you, Cheryl, for that super chat the other day. It was outstanding. I'm still not over it. Thank you so much. Good evening. Super City's gone City, hashtag innocent FC. Cameron Dempsey, hello, fellow citizens. Good evening. Andrew's in the house. City. Love it. Evening, everyone. Let's get back to football. Time to get behind the lads and win the Premier League title. Wouldn't that just piss a few people off? Good evening, all. Is that a thumbs up, I see? Ooh, chica. Good evening, Charlie. Negan, the head smasher, says hello. Hello from Blighty to the Oz. There you go. Ayo, Paul, says Stephen Bennett. 1894 Group organised bus welfare some flags off from ahead of the game. Hope so. It's about time, mate. It's about time. Going a chance City see old Premier League tune on Sunday. Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of that on Sunday, mate. City have boiled some pea, haven't we? Gotta love it. SOS Super League, here we come. I don't think that's going to happen, sadly. Well, Evening, Nightingale.
We might not have a choice.
Yeah, we will. City Loyal will tear up the Premier League. I'm positive. I don't know where Rich is. Rich tells us 8:30 and then he's not even here. Not a chance to the Super League. Vile. Well, there you go. Aussie's just appeared. I wasn't expecting Aussie till 9 o'clock. But yeah, good evening, Alan. How are you?
I'm okay. I've had a obviously difficult week with what's been going on and obviously work and stuff like that. Been quite emotional and disappointing and angry and all these sort of things thrown in all in one, I think, to be honest with you. You? How are you doing?
Totally fine.
Yeah.
Nice and relaxed.
Yeah.
Not phasing me at all.
The thing is, you don't get it being in Manchester. The only people you have to put up with is Man United fans, really, and the rest you don't have to put up with. Well, we've got every single football team and supporter in Melbourne, so we get a lot of stick. So there you go.
I can imagine. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening,
Rich. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Just having camera problems.
Well, we can see you. You've still got your flat cap on, so don't worry. Rolls your cap, Grandad. And
Right.
Exactly. Have you popped round to Simon Pearce's house yet in the Northern Beaches and given him a good slap after leaving that email on? It's caused all these problems for 10 years, eh?
I don't think he's there very often.
Mate, I'd throw him over the cliff at Freshwater if I were you, eh? It's what he deserves.
So how is everyone?
I'm totally fine. I mean, Alan's not. Alan's been to hell and back in the last few days. Anyway, Rich.
So much stick. I mean, seriously, Rich will know about this because we live in a country that's got every fan in one place. So we just get targeted. You've got a recruitment manager who's a Man United fan, so that must have been fun.
He's not there now. To be honest, I find it's quite funny. To be honest, I think it's interesting who mentioned something, but I think most people, taking it with a bit of a pinch of salt because it could be going another few years and every time everyone's got all over excited and over dramatic. It's ended up with a bit of a damp squib. So,
well, go on, Rich. We've all had our say, and I don't want to run the whole of tonight on this because it's a bit pointless, really. But Rich, give us your thoughts on it, seeing as we haven't heard from you.
Well, I think there's a lot of hyperbole on both sides. I think there's a lot of hyperbole by City fans saying, amazing lawyers, we're going to spend 100 million and we're going to destroy the Premier League. I think that's nonsense. There'll be fairly evenly matched sets of lawyers. I don't think, throwing money at it is going to be, the answer. Equally, there's a lot of people in the media and other fans, using words like illegal when at the moment it's not actually a matter of law, it's a matter of Premier League rules, although obviously a lot of those have to be subject to English law. So there's a lot of hyperbole there. And there's also a lot of hyperbole around, the number of charges. I mean, one thing to make clear is if you get your accounts wrong in 1 year, they're going to be wrong the next year, because how you've accounted for something in 1 year is probably going to be wrong for the next 5 years. And if City did something, even small, like, on the scale of football, did something that was like 5 million pounds and they spread that wrongly, or they took it in 1 year or something like that, that would, and that was a contract of a footballer, that would impact all 5 years, and it would then impact the year after that because of the comparatives in the account. So a lot of that, really it probably comes down to 6 or 7 charges. It's just the flow through from them means that they'll go into every year. But the Premier League's gone all in. They've, it looks like they've effectively accused City's directors. Interestingly, a couple of directors are also, party to investment in the UK of something like 50 billion in the last 5-6 years, with tens of thousands of jobs. So I would imagine the government would be quite worried about some of this as well, as with if the very serious business people in Abu Dhabi feel that they have lost face and feel it's unfair and they haven't done something wrong, then this could cost tens of thousands of jobs in the UK. I mean, they're one of the biggest trading partners, the UAE, with the UK. So I'd imagine this is causing ructions everywhere, because the Premier League's basically gone all in, and because they've gone all in so seriously, there's a really high burden of proof, and they will actually have to prove pretty much, by the looks of it, unless there's something, we're not seeing, and it's something minor which looks like it's major. They're pretty much accusing Abu Dhabi, some very serious and senior investors in the UK, of fraud, basically. So it's going to be a very high bar. Listening to a podcast the other day with a lawyer and talking about how many people would be involved in that if it was a high court trial, how long it would last, how long it would come for a judgment, and really saying that the Premier League, an arbitration panel, has absolutely not the expertise or the money or the scale or the ability to actually really sit on this. You might have 3 judges, even if you have 3 judges, and obviously it's a very, very senior barrister who'll be chairing it. They're not going to have all the support that the court system has. They're not.
You won't have the evidence.
Well, no, they will probably have the evidence, because I suspect now it's going to be a bombardment of hundreds of.
Got it.
It's going to be every bit of evidence is going to have to be taken individually. So, if their evidence is based on Der Spiegel, there's 1,000 emails. Each would be individually, reviewed. City could put up thousands of pieces of evidence. So
you don't realise how many of them emails count for now. 2 of those emails were used in CAS.
Yeah.
Two were allowed to be used.
Yeah, but that's my point. If that was the basis of their case, so unless
the whole of their thing is on the Spiegel,
and which we don't know. I mean, unless
hang on a minute, let's not forget about how long the grass was. I mean, that's some serious shit right there.
No, the end of the day,
Rich, this is not an independent commission, because it's been appointed by the Premier League, and it's not a court of law. It's an independent commission.
No, but they will be. I don't think you're going to have one of the most senior barristers and legal people in the country, because they go to Arsenal once a month, going against the law of the land, because they have to run the, ultimately, whilst City are subject to, the Premier League, we signed up to the Premier League rules. We signed a contract. We enter in that. So unless this process is run against English law, there is something grossly negligent in it. There isn't much comeback bar the appeal for City, but if it's run negligently and they do things, they have, Arsenal fans ignoring evidence on one side and doing it on the other, it could end up, that could end up going to the English courts, and it could destroy the Premier League. I mean, they've gone all in with very, very serious accusations against one of the UK's biggest trading partners, and at whether it was a politically expedient time because of the other things, it's a huge call by them, because the FA, the Premier League bureaucracy won't survive if they lose. So it really is, it's a big call, and if they lose, they're toast. If City lose, then I think there'll be some very major repercussions.
No,
I genuinely, honestly believe, looking at it all, researching it all, everything that I've done for the last 4 days, listening to barristers and different lawyers about all this, the Premier League, what they've charged us on it, and this is going to be the last thing. We're moving on to Villa after this straight away. I'm not dining on this all evening. Honestly, I'm more relaxed about this than I ever have been, because I genuinely believe this is the Premier League just throwing. I don't think the Premier League realise what they've actually accused us of. I really do not think they actually realise what they've done here.
For a time you think that, but they've used one of the top UK law firms. So
I understand that, Rich, but what we are saying is here is that City have hoodwinked not only the Premier League but Deloitte, HMRC, and everything else that's going to go.
That's what the charges suggest. But
yeah, and it's not, for me, these charges are all going down the Spielger, which is a load of garbage, and Cass just laughed it all out of court when it got there. They literally, because UEFA didn't have, if you actually look into the Cass case, when City went with all their evidence and went, right, let's talk about this, UEFA had no evidence. They had no people there to talk. They just had nothing. And Cass went,
there's two differences.
Hang on a minute.
There was
what is it you're bringing to us? You've got no evidence.
Yeah, but Martin, there's a few differences. One, Der Spiegel, the way UEFA and Cass treated evidence, did, I guess, have huge caveats on anything Der Spiegel. That doesn't necessarily follow through in the Premier League rules, because they're governed by different rules. So they may pay more attention to those, although they would almost certainly, require secondary evidence, because any of those emails can be read in two ways. And some of them don't technically actually involve City, because they're, members of the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund speaking to companies owned by the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund. So some of them, not even involving City, but they've been picked up in this because we had people who were ultimately doing two roles, from both within City and using, ultimately using email in the way that Hillary Clinton and, Donald Trump and a few others have done, and Suella Braverman using email accounts you shouldn't be using for, other things. So I don't think we can say it's nothing, but either the FA has gone, the Premier League side has gone all in, and it is that dramatic, or they're calling some minor detail on that and saying that there is that it's not actually the accounts that are wrong, but it's supplementary evidence to those accounts, because what you have to provide is you provide your audited accounts to the FA, and then you provide backing details. And there is also the possibility, because there's been no word on it, that City have just refused to send them anything for 4 years and been really obstructive, and therefore they have accused us of everything, because unless it goes to arbitration, they won't see any evidence to contravene what they have.
For evidence
that seems,
it's like you've said, you're asking us for stuff that isn't there. You're asking us to provide you stuff that we don't have because we haven't done what you're saying.
Well, they've already
the whole point of it.
Yeah,
sometimes that's the case.
Yeah,
Martin, City have lost 2 cases in a court of law that they were trying to get injunctions to stop the Premier League looking at certain things, and they've got smashed, City. And
I get that. And then it went to Cass, and Cass laughed UEFA out the building.
No.
That was mainly about confidentiality. City wanted this.
I understand that. Listen, at the end of the day is I'm listening to barristers and lawyers and all this. They're the people I'm going to listen to on it. And at the end of the day, is they're even saying Premier League. I've got to have a ton of evidence to prove all of this.
I thought it quite interesting. I put out an Instagram, Twitter post the other day saying that Danny Mills had been on TalkSport and he was talking about obviously what was going on, and he was saying that with this investigation that the Premier League have done going back 14 so years, I mean, how far do they want to go back? And if they're doing this to City, surely this opens up a house of cards for the other clubs that you could look at, like Chelsea, Nottingham Forest. I'm sure you could look at United. And I was also watching the overlap today, and I was quite surprised, but you had quite a lot of negativity, obviously from the other kind of people that were there, and it was already guilty. But actually, Gary Neville stood up and went, when the FFP came in, it was to stop City from being able to kind of do what they've done and spend money, compete. Because even he said, he had to admit that now it's so difficult for the likes of Newcastle and Everton to actually put the money into these clubs. If City hadn't have done what they did, we would still be, at the bottom of the table. Do you know what I mean? So, even Gary Neville could see that financial fair play doesn't work. It was brought in for the wrong reasons. It was only really brought in to stop City getting anywhere near top four.
I'll be honest with you. After this is all finished and all taken care of, the stops and all the rest of it, you have to seriously look, if you're the City owner and the City chairman, at some of the individuals in the executive area and also on the board. Do you really want them to run our operations within the club? Because maybe it's time for a fresh start with those individuals.
Right. Let's not go down that road, because doing that, you're admitting guilt and say you haven't done it.
Not necessarily. We've had, with all due respect, they are guilty of malpractice for the last 12 years, mate. And
says who?
Well, mate, for the last 12 years, we've had this over our heads for 12 years, every 2 years. So where's the delegate? Where's people sitting down with the Premier League after Cass case and sorting this out? Instead, we've been not dealing with them properly. We've been obstructive with them non-stop. That's out of order.
No, it's not. But when you feel you're being set up, you ain't gonna deal with people when you're being. You got to remember, with the Cass case, it was being leaked out. It was being leaked out to Rob Harris and the guy in the New York Times. Information was being leaked from the UEFA committee board out to them to give information. So City went, all right then, through their lawyers, when we ain't dealing with this anymore. If you're going to leak all this information out to the papers, forget it. We're done. We'll go to an independent board and we'll go to Cass.
It's not independent.
This is what City are doing now.
We're not going to Cass though. It's not independent.
No, it'll go to an independent board, and then whoever loses, it'll go to another independent board. And that's when it ends.
As I was saying, Alan, if City feel the deck has been stacked against them since the start of all this, do you know what I mean? They're not going to want to deal with the likes of the Premier League.
I don't agree with that No, I don't agree with that, what you're saying, Alan. Again, it's your opinion, but no, I don't agree with it, because I'm sorry, there's people already out with us. It's a witch hunt to begin with, and let them do what they want to do. At the end of the day is, honestly, I don't think this goes anywhere. I think this all gets just moved. It's no coincidence that Monday the white paper was due out and today the Super League announcement came out. That's no coincidence to me. Sorry, but it's not.
Do you not think that actually, if they were doing that, they would have done this months ago? I think to do them.
Save it for this week, Rich, when all the announcements are coming in.
Yeah, I think it looks amateurish, to be honest.
Exactly. When you speak to lots of barristers and lawyers about it, that's exactly their whole point. And this is City's point. It looks very amateurish from the Premier League doing this.
It does, and that's why, I'm not sure that that's why that timing was. I think there's a coincidence, but we could have found coincidences in any timing, and I don't think we can be quite, I don't think we can be quite naive enough to think that it's just gonna blow over. I mean, it will be.
I do. Rich, we've just agreed. This UK government have just agreed. Was it a $10 billion pound loan or something with the UAE government, which is chaired up by Khaldoon Al-Mubarak? Do you think they're going to start peeing off the big men at UAE?
You're suggesting then that it is corrupt, but it's corrupt.
No. I'm not saying it's corrupt. What I'm saying is the Premier League. Two things will happen here. Do the Premier League take us on, and when we go, where's your evidence? Because this is the difference. This 9-year stack that they've got against us is all based on, as you know, Rich, as a finance guy, because they're saying in 09 and 10 we got our projections wrong. What they're saying is, obviously, you forecast year upon year. They're basically saying,
So I do think it comes down to, I do think it comes down to.
They're not accusing us of 9 years of straight fraud. They're saying, well, if you've got that year wrong, all the other consecutive years.
Well, no, they're not saying anything. They have accused us of misleading financial statements in 9 or 10 years. So at the moment, we don't know whether it's.
You can't use the emails. The emails got proved at cast they were doctored.
You can. No, that's not true.
Out of context.
That's not true.
They can.
It is true. It's in the cash report.
They can use it.
This has got nothing to do with CAS. This is nothing to do with CAS.
Rich, it's the same evidence.
No, it doesn't matter. It's a different court with a different burden of proof.
And a different court, if it's already been proved.
Martin, the logic of what you're saying is because it's admissible evidence or inadmissible evidence in one court in a completely different legal system with a completely different jurisdiction.
It's not right. Can we just take the legal part out?
No, this is legal. There is nothing.
It's not
Martin. So you're arguing, then you've just argued against your own argument. You've argued that it is not admissible because it wasn't legal in a European
Let
court.
me explain something.
That's got nothing to do with the Premier League.
You're doing what every other opposition fan has done. You're going down it's a legal thing. It's a criminal thing. It's nothing to do with that.
No.
You're not going into any court.
Yes, Martin, you are arguing against yourself.
I'm not.
We are saying that they will be able to use the Der Spiegel leaks as evidence in the tribunal. That is a fact.
Rich, even though they did prove that those emails were doctored.
That is for City to argue in that.
It was argued in CAS, and that's why CAS threw it out.
That it doesn't matter what CAS.
Martin, Rich is right, I'm afraid.
It's a separate
tribunal. So a barrister I listened to today, Ozzy, and I sent you the email. Is he lying?
He's not lying.
No,
he's just
lying.
He's putting what Wilton City's.
You're not understanding,
Barristers, Martin, just let's be quite clear. A barrister puts a position. That is their job. They're not a judge. They are a person who puts a position. There will be it will be two extremely prominent barristers on either side. One will put a case that everything the Premier League says is correct, the evidence is perfect, and everything is right. The other barrister will put the case that everything the other side's saying is completely wrong and their opinion is completely invalid, and these are the reasons why that is the case. So you will have a barrister who will be going on every trial. You have two barristers who go in at 180-degree opposition to each other. So you cannot say because a barrister says X, it means it's X, because for every winning barrister who's right, there's a losing barrister who's wrong. And they state their opinion.
I'm not saying there
of
is
something.
It's going to an independent committee.
Yes. And if we have stuff,
can we get this court stuff out the window, please?
Yeah, it's
never going to a court.
But it is going to be a tribunal arbitration, which is sat on by lawyers, which is governed by English law, and which is based on the laws of the Premier League. So it is going to be, in many ways, though it's not going to the actual High Court, in many ways, it's going to have a lot of the similar characteristics. And it will be, if we have evidence of doctored emails, if we have evidence that Cash has thrown them out. Our barristers will use that, and that will be one of our barristers' arguments about why they shouldn't be looked at. And the other side will be saying that these are genuine leaks from a heroic whistleblower trying to expose corruption and how they need to be protected, how these are absolutely valid because they're first-hand evidence from within the club. And those two barristers will put that position, and the tribunal of 3 people will listen to the evidence on both sides, look at the evidence on both sides, and decide, do we believe that this is a heroic whistleblower and this is the overall basis of the evidence, or do we believe this is selective evidence taken out of context and stolen illegally and used inappropriately? And they will make that decision. But so their barrister will think that they will believe and use Der Spiegel. Our barrister will believe that it's outrageous evidence and it won't be touched. But we don't know. And and it looks like we're not going to know because the way the Premier League's trying to do it, in about 18 months' time, an announcement's going to come out on the Premier League website saying City's cleared or City's relegated, and then another announcement's going to come out 30 seconds later saying we appeal it, and then everything will go quiet for another 6 months because I think an appeal will be a lot quicker than the original.
Yeah, the point I'm trying to make is we need to get this court thing and all these other court and law.
Yeah, it's not a court. It's a civil arbitration.
It's a civil matter.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we really need to move on now. Okay,
yeah.
As Martin said, we're getting but we're starting to argue against ourselves too much. So let's get on to the game, shall we? Because we've covered this quite a lot now.
That's us told.
I'm fine.
Go on then, boss. Go on then, boss man.
The thing is, Ozzy, after the way we played after last Sunday's game, it's actually a relief to be talking about financial fair play and not how utterly tedious City are and have been for the last few months.
Yeah, and I think we do need to kind of.
Boss man here.
I think we do need to talk about City's kind of performances because we have been poor. Okay, there are issues on and off the field, and I'm going to keep it to football-related matters there, where I say, obviously, there's stuff going on behind the scenes with the dressing room, with the players, with Pep. Something's not quite right. Cancelo went because of his attitude. There's been murmurings about other players' attitudes as well. The likes of Laporte, I think even Diaz isn't particularly happy with his lack of game time. So, I mean, for me, we go back to the Spurs game, and I think Pep played the players. He played the players that he felt were going to give him everything, and not the players that may be the better players, but just weren't showing the right attitude. Can Pep continue to keep doing this? Because for me, I don't think he can. I think he needs to play the strongest players.
I'm hoping that the directors that went in the Caldoun and the CEO that went in the change room 45 minutes after the game try to smooth that waters of. There's obviously a split in the change rooms with the Portuguese and the rest of them from the sounds of it, and let's hope that gets sorted out this week with that chat that they've had after the game, because they didn't look together, and they're not a unit at the moment, nowhere near. And let's just hope that can be resolved and they go out there with a fresh start and make it happen, And let's hope that the news that they got the day after doesn't impact either. Martin?
Someone else can't know. No, Ozzy's leading it. I'm keeping mouth shut.
Go on, I want to see another argument. Go on.
All the City players, let's be honest, we're not going to be very good this weekend because all the City players are going to spend all week sitting down with their manager wondering if they've got a clause that if we get relegated to the non-league, whether they have to stay or whether they've got a get-out clause for a certain fee. And if if Wrexham thinking that, Paul Mullins tearing up the non-league, wait till they see Erling Haaland, playing against Dorking and Worcester City.
Does anyone know if Foden's
That's because that's what you want, Rich. You want us relegated down to non-league.
Well, it's it. So no,
That's why you're so giddy and hoping we do get. Oh, I want us to go back down.
Well, it would be funny if it actually we're going down with $1 billion in the bank came true. Sadly, I suspect the Championship would welcome us and happily swap us for a team. So we probably wouldn't get the joy of going down to, non-league or, starting a real journey, a real comeback journey from, the Alliance Premier League North back to win the Premier League. It'd be exciting. Does anyone know what's up with Diaz though? Because Diaz is not, hasn't really been mentioned in any of the things, and but he's not been picked.
I think, from what I've heard, is that he's still
the comments. Carry on.
From what I've heard, he still isn't fully 100% fit, but I think, I think he needs to be playing more. As much as like Aki and I forgot his name, Akanji, have been good in some respects. I still think you've got to be bringing in the likes of Diaz back into the team. For me, I can't understand it really. It just seems off.
He'd be the first on the team sheet for me. Diaz is a leader.
The thing is, we don't know what's going on in the dressing room. We do know there are issues in the dressing room with certain players. And sorry if they're not pulling the weight and they're being arseholes. They don't go in the team.
The thing is, though, Martin, you can turn around and say, yeah, that's a good argument. But the problem is that you've got to get these players back on side. You just can't keep benching them and not doing anything with them. Do you know what I mean?
But it's up to them to fight, isn't it? It's up to them.
It is up to them to fight, but it's also the manager's responsibility to get these players playing their best. You can't just kind of bench them and go, you know what, I'm going to keep you guys just warm on the bench until you show the right attitude, because that's just not going to work either, Martin.
No,
that doesn't work. You don't show the right attitude in work, you don't get stuff.
Well, the thing is,
this type of job doesn't work like that, Martin. Let's be honest.
I'm totally behind Pep on this one. You either work or you leave. Cancelo chose to leave. You don't want to be here, and you want to put your bottom lip out, and Sol can drag it round the training ground. See ya. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
So what's Bernardo Silva still doing here then, Martin?
Because he's still trying when he's on the pitch at times.
Well, he's not. He's been poor this season. That argument just doesn't even bear weight. Do you know what I mean? Because he has been on the pitch and he's been one of the poorest players over the last 5 games.
But he has been, for 3 seasons when it's rumoured he's wanting to go, he's trained hard and he's played hard and been very good. Maybe it's just one step. But wasn't he, very close mates with Cancelo and, spending a lot of time.
They were living together at one point just before Cancelo left. So
if you're living with something incredibly negative, then the chances are that, it's going to rub off on you. It's, I think you've got a few players who, like Walker is just getting on a bit, and he's a bit more injury prone and things like that. And, some of their disillusion there is probably as much related to his own body as it is to, City and the acceptance that he's coming to the end of his period as an elite footballer. To me, there's probably some players who just want to get back to where they want to live the rest of their life as well. That might well be the case with Laporte. For me, he's a phenomenal player, and we would want to keep him. But if his heart is set on bringing his kids up in Spain, where he wants to live for the rest of his life, and make a bit more of a name for himself and a bit more of a presence in Spain, then you can understand, why that would be.
It's got all magical.
You don't think the same as well, mate.
Yeah.
Somebody's got the ring. Somebody's got their Amazon ring going at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bring Vader in. Good evening, mate. How are you?
Good evening, guys. I'm okay. Feeling excited for this game, man.
Richard's dog, he can't wait. Yeah.
Is it a pup? Rich, do you have a pup?
No, I've got 2 dogs. They're case hond.
Oh, okay. They seem to chime up during certain moments within the stream.
I'm a bit worried they don't like Canadians.
I won't take offense. I won't take offense.
No, they've got strong opinions on a few things, and my wife's just going to work, so they've got strong opinions that she shouldn't be leaving the house.
I mean, have they been fed yet? Have they been fed yet?
They have actually.
Yes, all right then.
Don't sound like it.
Well, dogs don't remember when they were fed 20 minutes ago. That's the problem. As soon as one meal's finished, they're thinking of the next one.
Oh dear.
Martin's in deep thought over there. What's going on with you, Martin?
I'm just waiting. I'm just.
Vaty, you missed the biggest debate you've ever seen on live YouTube channel. Between
Alan wants to get rid of all the board. Alan wants the board.
You want the board wiped out?
I want them, not all of them, some of them.
Anyway,
I won't go back and watch it because I'm sure that's quality TV. So I'm gonna go back and check that out.
Rich and Martin really get at it. It's very good actually.
I'd separate and Vita.
We got to realise. Rich
Ozzy the bouncer separated the fight.
Yeah.
Rich just wants us all out the door. You've got Alan having like meltdowns every 30 seconds. Everyone's getting we're going down. That's it. City's over, and it's like, and I'm just like you saw today when we were in that space, mate. When we're just nice, calm, relaxed.
I wish it was as relaxed as people are in Manchester, but we're getting tons of stick over here. I don't know about you, Veta.
No, I'm not. Honestly, Alan,
anyway, let's get back to Villa.
Who cares? Who cares what some plastic scouser or something thinks? I mean, really.
Aussie's throwing on obviously that some of these players who have been dropped should be given a chance again.
I mean, the dropping of players. I hate our last.
There's the grumpy 5.
Yeah.
Now got it down to the grumpy 4, but I think Aussie wants the grumpy 4 back in.
Well, my point, Vates, was that at the end of the day, yes, maybe some of these players are lacking, in fight, but it's still down to the manager to sort this out. Yes, the players have got to show effort, but at the same time, Pep has got to manage this. He's got to get these players motivated in the right way to get them playing better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is what a manager's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So for me, he's got to be bringing these players back in because they are our best players, especially, the likes of Diaz, Laporte. It's our best solid back 4 when we've got those players in.
I agree with you. I just hate the timing of this match, though. And the reason why I say that is, Ozzy, as you mentioned, like our best players, we need to get them back. If we do get them back, would we also expect them to play? Because again, it's not a full. It's 4 days later we're playing Arsenal. Is that the break that we have? It's a pretty short turnaround. So Wednesday. So the players that play on Sunday and put in considerable minutes may not be chosen to or start for that match against Arsenal. So I think he may be holding off the players that he has extreme confidence in right now and looking to use them maybe as a sub, but looking to use them versus Arsenal and saving their legs.
I think we're past that stage, Veta, because of our defeat against Spurs. We need to start winning and winning consistently. That's the problem.
I would agree with that, but
he can't leave the likes of Kevin De Bruyne out. I mean, that was for me one of the biggest mistakes he made at the weekend. He's leaving KDB out because it showed, and it showed that he made a mistake because he had to bring him on. I'm sure he wanted to arrest him, but Pep is not infallible. He does make mistakes.
Of course not. Pep has had all of us pull our hair, grow some grays. emotional eat. He's done it all, right? Lose some sleep. Pep has caused a lot of things, but I think I look at this match against Villa, yes, as a must-win, 100%.
Absolutely.
But then I also can't help but say that I want to put in a great effort. I want to have a strong team. Do I want to have all my weapons? Do I want to, pardon the expression, do I want to fire every bullet knowing that I want to have some ready for Arsenal? Because getting 3 points off of them, right, or a draw in the event of a draw, but not conceding points to them, I think is highly important with regards to this race. I agree with you guys, though. Aston Villa needs to be a strong team, needs to be more consistent with winning formations and instructions than the Pep's doing an experiment here. Pep's putting on players that aren't the most creative and decisive, which we saw against Spurs. No KDB, and having Silva on that pitch, having Alvarez, and looking for Rico, Lewis, and Grealish and Mahrez to be the ones that, quote unquote, are to feed Haaland. That experiment did not work at all. And for Haaland to not get any touches and not to be really in threatening positions, ball to foot, is unacceptable. So I am praying that Pep does not do another experiment with Aston Villa and has a very clear attack against them, because we need the win. Like Alan mentioned, we need this win.
Can I ask you a question, Peter? And tell me what you think honestly. Do you think the team need to adapt to Haaland, or Haaland needs to adapt to the team?
At the start of the season, I was like, Haaland needs to adapt to the team in terms of knowing where to be, knowing how they read. I think we're past that point, though. I think we're past that point where the players should see enough within his movement pattern, with his effort pattern, with his preferred attacking channels to know how to get the ball to him, or the conversations that you have when your teammates, like I think we heard this during the preseason, Grealish and Haaland having conversations about, hey, when I'm on the wing and you kind of see me do this, expect this ball to come across to you. We're past the point. These players need to know what works best for Haaland and force the other team to have to stop that. Right now, we're making the other team have a calm and relaxing match, because honestly, I don't believe that they think any of the runs that he makes that a pass is coming to him. I don't see that worry from the defenders marking him, and it's frustrating.
Well,
yeah, there are plenty of times where Haaland makes these runs, and you can see like he knows when he's supposed to go, but nobody plays the ball to him, and you're just going, my God. I mean, I agree with you. The team now has to adapt to him. Do you know what I mean? It was the other way around at the start of the season, but now it has got to be. These players have got to show.
Isn't that a danger of the Ronaldo type of scenario at United, where we're trying to play around one person? Which
there is a great degree
not Erling Haaland.
Yeah, but personally, this is a team game, right? And if someone, a good footballer, should be able to adapt to any team, right? I'm not calling Haaland a bad footballer, because he's a good footballer, but he should be able to adapt to the team, the way Man City play and the way Pep plays. And at the moment, I don't think he's doing that.
The problem is, though, Alan, is for the last 2 seasons we've played a false 9. So that is now we're playing with a number 9. Yep. This team isn't used to it, and they're still getting their head around it. Even though, Haaland, there's this whole argument that Haaland's been this counter-attacking striker. He's never really been that. Okay, because when you're playing as one of the best clubs, like he did at Dortmund, okay, it wasn't the best club, but it was still one of the best. He was still playing up against, teams that were using the low block and all this. So you can't use that argument that, it needs to be adapted to the team. It needs to be adapted to Haaland as well.
Yeah.
What do you think, Marcus?
I think it's both. Genuinely, I think it's, I think there's a whole host of going things on. There's some players who are a bit demotivated, and I suspect every player is slightly demotivated for a different reason. Some, it's the fact that winning your 6th title doesn't make you as hungry as winning your 5th title, doesn't make you as hungry as your 4th. Some they're getting older, some they want to be living somewhere sunnier, nicer, and enjoying their life more aside from football. Then we've got Haaland, who is used to at Dortmund playing a very, very different game to how he plays for City, and he's having to learn, and the players are having to learn to deal with a new player. Instead of cutting it back to the false 9, they now need to be changing the way they play. So I think all of that rolls in together, and that results in what's happening at the moment on the pitch. But, you know, unfortunately, I don't think it's a magic wand. I think if it was one thing or the other, you might be able to wave a magic wand and fix it. But I think there's probably 3 or 4 things going on all at the same time. And if Pep gets the players who are demotivated, motivated, we might still have an issue with the tactics. If we get Haaland, you know, changing the way he plays, if the players still don't feed him properly, it's still not going to achieve the outcome. So we need 3 or 4 different things fixing, and it's you know, it's a bit of a challenge, and you know, we'll see what Pep's made of, because I think it will be one of his, you know, harder challenges he's faced in his managerial career. You know, I think, you know, the first year at City was hard. He had to completely change around, you know, some players with attitude, the way we played, tactics, rebuild the fullbacks, etc., etc. But I think probably now it's as hard a job as it's been since that first season.
Yeah, I would definitely agree to that. This season for Pep, as well as the players that have been through the seasons of winning, it's got to be their most challenging one ever. And to Alan's point with regards to Haaland having to adapt, I definitely see that there's more that he needs to bring to his game, and there's more that he needs to recognize when playing for us. But then, and I'm going to go off of the most recent match when I painfully watched it again, and I was ready to throw whatever was near me, which would have been the remote, towards the TV. I'm glad I didn't. But 34 seconds into the game, I see Silva with the ball. He has possession in the midfield, and Haaland has a gap between him and the center back. And it's like, give the guy a shot. Give the guy a chance to run on the ball. We see Liverpool spamming crosses, Trent putting the ball in and just creating opportunities. And I get it. They play
losing 3-0 to Wolves.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into. What they've been doing recently hasn't resulted in wins, but the philosophy is there's threatening players up there. I'm going to put it in a space to see if my player can get it. I'm going to put it into space to see how well the defense can deal with it, and then we'll react to it. I've criticized our midfield at times with some of the balls being played, Haaland trying to control it, trying to give it off, and the midfield not being ready to react. I've then also gotten to the point where I'm criticizing the midfield to at least give him a chance to get an opportunity, to apply pressure on a defender, to maybe cause a defender to slip or misplay the ball and have them run on, or I forget what game it was. Was it Wolves as well, where the ball got sent over and Haaland basically muscled the defender and the defender fell to ground and he got a shot. He got a shot on that. I don't know if it was Wolves or Leeds, but it's opportunities like those where we're not giving him a chance. And you see it. You see by the 10th, 11th run where he makes it and then the ball doesn't come and he's looking back, shoulders shrunk down a little bit. And I don't want him to have that reaction. I want him to make those runs, but at the same time, I want at least one ball being played. And it doesn't have to be on the ground. I know I'm ranting right now. It doesn't have to be on the ground. It could be a log pass. It could be slightly into space in the air. KDB can't be the only guy looking up and trying to do it. And I hope that changes with this upcoming match, because Haaland is a weapon. He's the best weapon in the league, and he's on the most creative, most big chance maker, most threatening chances in the box, whatever the numerous stats are that we have. And we're not giving the man a shot. We're not giving him a chance. So that's me, long-winded, but
just got to read this stupid chat. Settle back for the rest of the season. Pep doesn't. Thank you, Leon, but we don't play a back four. This is where fans need to realise that at some point.
But we could.
We don't play a back four.
That might be the point, though. He might be wanting us to go back to playing a back four. I might be suggesting that the back three is the root of all.
Well, I don't agree with that.
The thing is that Pep has tried the back three numerous times, and often or not, it's not worked.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean? And it shows. Do you know what I mean? We're conceding way more goals than we ever have done before. The players don't seem comfortable. And I know we've always joked and said this is what Pep wants to do, but he's tried it numerous times, and he's tried it against numerous times with the opposition playing a back three, and it really doesn't work. So it's like, Pep, stick with what you know and stick what's best for the team, because for me, this team will go back to a back four, whether it's this season or next.
I mean, it's also important to note that when the season started, when we were watching those preseason games, and we were also questioning, should we have more preseason matches? But Pep wasn't doing the three at the back. Like, that wasn't what we saw from early preseason. So it's clearly something that he's identified with regards to Alan's point. How does Holland best adapt to us, or how do we control the midfield the way Pep would prefer? And so he's adjusted things, and obviously we haven't perfected it. We haven't mastered it. Some players are still uncomfortable.
We've got issues where I don't agree with the back three. I prefer back four. I'll be honest with the way we play. Then there's the Haaland scenario, and then you've got players who obviously are not performing at the moment and have a bad attitude, or there's a click in the change rooms. So there's a lot going on in that squad at the moment that Pep has to get his head around. So we'll have to wait. And he's got a lot to solve that. There's got to be a team. That's the biggest thing. In any team sport, no matter what sport it is, you've got to be a team. And at the moment, I don't think we're anywhere near that.
I hear that.
We play four defenders, but one of them goes into midfield.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And we're talking about Rico Lewis is that player who does it. And he's done it really quite well at times. But it showed that we all knew that there were going to be games where he just wasn't going to be that influential. And on that game particularly, he looked lost, and so did a lot of the players. So it's.
I understand. Rico lost, because Rico's played it since he was 7 years old.
Yes, Martin, but there's playing at 7 years old, and there's playing in a professional in the Premier League. So.
But the trouble is, you're all asking me something we don't have the players for.
He doesn't play the players, though, does he? That's the problem.
No, but you're all asking for this forward and then two wide. The problem is we don't have wide men. We don't have them. If we're going to run the byline and put crosses in, that isn't what we do.
Martin, the problem was against Spurs is we didn't play our best players. And when I saw the team sheet, I was furious. And
2 weeks ago, we were all saying KDB needed dropping and resting and wasn't playing well.
You don't drop him against Tottenham away, mate, at Whitehall, are you?
No, this is the point. Sometimes fans need to make their own mind up on which way they want to go. Because in one breath, they say one thing, and then the next week when they get it, it's let's change it and swirl it around again.
Were you happy with the side? When you saw the side, were you happy?
I was more than happy Gundogan didn't play than KDB. I thought we missed Gundogan more than we missed Kevin De Bruyne.
We missed both of them. We didn't play our best team.
Because I wouldn't overly say KDB came on and changed a lot, if I'm totally honest with you. Yeah. I thought Gundogan would have done. Because Gundogan was the guy who we needed to get hold of the ball, slow things down, and start spraying it around, which we weren't doing.
Yeah, correct.
I've got no
missing Lynch for me.
I've got no credentials. I have not done any coach training at all. But I thought that Pep would have fielded a very strong team. Absolutely. Because it would have been Spurs to play, then it would have been Aston Villa with again playing on Sunday, then playing again on Wednesday. I thought it would have been strong versus Spurs, rotation versus Aston Villa, strong again versus Arsenal. But now I'm like, I don't know what to expect, because like we all here, we want a strong, confident, and secured win against Aston Villa. So we maybe have to play a strong team back to back, and what does that do to the legs? What does that do to the players?
I think that's the thing we're all confused about, Vader, is that we don't know, because I mean there are times where we have, we've all joked and said, we don't know what the lineup's going to be, and we more or less we don't get it right, but we get a general, with players that do mostly start. But this season, especially at the moment, it's just like you don't know what you're going to get.
Oh, no.
It does feel very disjointed, very lost. And if we're feeling like this, what are the players thinking?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. So much rotation. What kind of confidence and rhythm do the players have?
Yeah, because you had Ake playing, has played left back most of the season, and then you throw him into the middle with Akanji. They haven't played together properly like that. Do you know what I mean? So for me, you've got two world-class centre backs on the bench, and you're not using either of them.
We had no midfield as well. Tottenham must have been like rubbing their hands, thinking, "Well, we haven't got any problem here in midfield." Let's be completely honest.
Yeah, 100%. I think we made life easier for them.
Where we are in the league, I think I missed something. I missed something. I don't know.
Martin, I know you're kind of saying, "Well, we're still second in the league," and blah blah.
Well, because we are, Rosda.
Yeah, I know we are, but at the same time,
the be-all and end-all is there's been about a 25-point turnaround.
Sometimes we're not 10.
Martin,
calm it down a bit.
There has been a 25-point turnaround versus this time last year with Arsenal.
Yeah, so, correct.
Relatively term, and just looking at them as our title challengers, and it's not just us. Liverpool have gone, Liverpool have gone far worse than us.
I'm not into all this negative. Sorry, I'm not.
Martin, do you need a hug? Do you need a hug?
No, it's a load of crap.
Are you saying negativity in the chat or on the panel? Because it's like these
are valid points, Martin. If you can't understand valid points, then I'm sorry, you've come in with the wrong attitude. Like, we are allowed to criticize the team, the manager, if something's not quite right. We're not saying we're in the position of Chelsea and Liverpool. Of course we're not.
You're acting like it.
No, Martin, we're having okay, Martin. If that's what you think, then fair enough.
You must be acting like that.
Head's gone now. Head has gone.
The flip side is that to us, you're acting like we're playing like we were in the Centurion season, and everything's absolutely wonderful. And that's, over negativity is a load of nonsense, but not accepting there's some problems at the moment.
But the thing is,
if you're saying we've gone too far the other way, you've gone too far happy clappy here, right?
We might get relegated.
I'm not doing happy clappy.
Hey, we'll play Wrexham.
Tell you what, do whatever you want to do, mate.
Shrewsbury.
He's taking a second. He's going to calm down. He'll be fine. He will be. I think it's not. We recognize that we're still, we're second in the league, but we also recognize like the drop points against Spurs. Terrible showing. So whether we won that game or not, we'd still be second in the league, but it's how we played, and it's the fact that we dropped points.
Yeah, because I mean, if we go on to the last few seasons, like we've lost against Spurs. Do you know what I mean? Because they've been one of our bogey teams, haven't they? But I think it was the biggest thing that I think any fan can say is, as long as the team is putting the effort in, you can accept a loss. Because if Spurs were the better team on that day, fair enough. But if your team is not showing lack of effort and you're not feeling they're in the game, then it does breed this kind of negativity amongst us all, because we're not happy with what we're seeing right now. And I know Martin thinks we're all being very negative, and Martin, seriously, I was joking. I'm not saying you're a happy clapper, but you are very much seeing this as there's not a problem at all. And it's just like, well, there is. Do you know what I mean? There are problems, and you can't just ignore them and go, there's nothing to talk about, because there is things to talk about.
Yeah,
I agree totally.
The thing that's challenging too is when we think about. I get it. When we're in possession and we're attacking the opposition, we do have three at the back because Rico will invert and be part of the midfield. And I get that. I understand it. We want to have control as we build up possession. I'm currently seeing a flaw with that approach if we continue not to look for Haaland when we're now in the final third. Because then what's the advantage there if plays aren't happening within the middle of the pitch and you're looking to get it to them? Why not widen the play? Why not have four play wide and then look to maybe attack with width? So we're right to be frustrated, Martin. We're trying to come up with solutions and suggestions. Do we think that this form is going to continue? Definitely not. We need to right the ship.
Yeah.
Does this make Alan the host or Ozzy the host? How do we? Because
we could do it all together. We're having a conversation. It's like being in a bar, isn't it? We're having a conversation about the problems of our form, you know, and we're not playing well. We all know we're not playing well, and we're having a sensible, constructive conversation about why that is and what can we do to put it all right. You know, at the end of the day, unfortunately, Pep's the only one that can put it right because we're right to talk about it. You know,
I think we also probably lack a few of those leadership personalities in the dressing room as well. Like I do think that Company and Fernandinho would probably be, you know, asking Pep to leave the dressing room and talking to the players. You know, I don't think that you know Cancelo would have got the point he did if we had a few of those personalities on the training pitch. So I think you can probably say, you know, as I said before, it's some players' attitudes and some of that's aging, some of it's you know, they don't want to be here geographically, some of it's complacency, some of it's change of system, some of it's adapt to, lack of, lack of a real captain in the club. So I think there's a whole host of things, and when you add them all together, they are resulting in what Pep's trying to do to deal with all those issues is just really control the game, but become a lot less dynamic. And I think that's when you end up with, this season, I'd say there's been a lot of very boring games. There's been a lot of very boring games where I've watched the game and just haven't felt,
this isn't City you're watching.
Yeah, this isn't what it used to be like in Division 2, where I was on the edge of my seat. And and I think it's and I think the way you fix those things is you have to fix them one by one. If you've got a player who's getting a bit old, you have to bring in a player to replace them. If you lack a true leader, then when we're buying players this summer, we have to think, well, we need one of those players to be a real character. Someone who's going to really come in and grab things by the scruff of the neck. If we've got players with an attitude issue, we have to sit down with them. We have to find out what's driving it, find out whether it can be fixed or whether it's something that can only be fixed by moving on. And if they need to move on, they move on. But, all Pep can do is deal with those one by one. The trouble is that a lot of those issues can't be dealt with till the summer. So we're left with them for the rest of the season. If Bernardo wants to be in Lisbon desperately and he's not playing well because he's a bit miserable because he wants to be in Lisbon, there's nothing we can do about it. Or we can tell him he can go on holiday to Lisbon and not play again this season, but that's not going to, improve anything on the pitch. So Pep, we've just got to be patient. We've got to try and identify every one of the issues, and then we've got to come up with a solution for every one of the issues. And then when we do that, things will start to come better. And I think the other thing that we probably also have to accept is that some other clubs are starting to step up to the challenge, and some other clubs showed patience, signed players, and they're improving. So we're dropping off a bit, but we can't deny that certainly Arsenal and even the Rags have improved an absolute ton. And Newcastle,
can I just Can I just say thank you to Leon MCFC for the super chat. Martin, come back. We love you. Yeah, Martin, as soon as you're ready, come back, mate. We need you back on.
Yes,
Can we have a look at the opposition, because we haven't really talked about Villa?
And shout out to everyone in the comments. And we can't put them on screen, guys, because the host isn't here. But we see you and thank you guys.
Yeah. I haven't really watched much of Villa this season, so I'm gonna have to. Has anyone really pretty much seen them? I mean, they haven't had a particularly great run. They've won 2 games out of the last 5. They're not really scoring very much. They're currently 11th in the table. They've obviously had a new manager come in during the season. Gerald went out and I forget his name now.
Unai Emery.
Unai has come in, which he's a solid manager, let's be fair. Okay, he didn't have a particularly good time at Arsenal, but as soon as he went back to Spain, he was doing really well there. So you can understand why Villa brought him in. He's a steady pair of hands, and he's come in and he's probably kind of helped really steady them a little bit. But yeah,
they have become more organised under him. And I've watched Villa a couple of times over here, because you get to see all the games. Like Vita has the same issue as we do. I think that they're more solid, definitely more solid. Mm. They will frustrate City, I'll tell you that now. And yes, they had the bounce when he came in, but they're a lot more solid a football team than they were under Gerrard, definitely.
Yeah, I'd say they're definitely. You can clearly see that they just improved in terms of being better, well drilled, and kind of resolute and concentrated defensively. I think it's gonna. I think I saw in the comment we mentioned kind of like boring games. This is one of those games where if we're not taking our chances, if we're not finding our spots, it could be a frustrating game, because I think they're going to be very resolute in defense. And Unai Emery, he's a quality manager. I think he was. Obviously, he had an impatient fan base over at Arsenal, and he had to fill large shoes because of Arsene Wenger, and he didn't get a fair shot. But he is a quality manager, so we got to respect him that way. Yeah. If we were in consistent form, I'd be very confident going into this match. But we're searching for some things. So yeah, this Aston Villa game is gonna. Until we see the starting 11, it'll be tough to say.
I'm dreading that text. I'm dreading the text message in the morning an hour before kickoff. And what brain fart he was going to pick. You're thinking, please pick a decent side.
The thing is, I mean, I see kind of possibly what happened at the end of the season with Villa. Do you know what I mean? But the problem is that what I don't see is the lack of fight from the City and the players right now. Do you know what I mean? And that's my worries, that, we will see them play very difficult against, but when they take their chances, if they put them away and we don't play our game, is this a potential banana skin? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we're all saying we're kind of confident it's Villa, but if we're not confident about a team right now, we're not confident about the result.
So we're turning back to typical City now, aren't we? Let's be honest. Everyone starts to wonder now. Oh, hang on. How do we feel about this? I think every single fan is now, like you said, Ozzy. You don't know what to expect from them, whether they're going to do well or do not. And that's like the old City. That's what we used to. That's what me and Rich were used to at Main Road in Division 2 and then Championship. You never knew what was going to happen and on what side they'd turn out. And from one game to the next, you had no. And then when you're winning 2-0, they could throw it all away in the last 2 minutes, which has happened this year. On a number of times when they've had, when they've just had a complete collapse, and it's happened a few times. So you now, I think the way I used to think now. So it makes it. This is what mate is not used to this, but mate, seriously, if you'd have gone through the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s, you'd have been shaking. You'd have been walking around like this a lot of the time. Do you know what I mean? That's
the
what
dying
it's like.
moment. You're kind of like you're watching.
Exactly like that. You didn't know what to expect, and this is why the legacy fans like me and and Martin, Rich, we are with the way we are because of that. And it's the younger ones don't think that way. So it's it never goes, unfortunately.
It never goes away. I hear that. It's in the DNA.
Yeah.
I see, and again, everyone in the comments, we see you guys. A few sentiment is, no need to push to. Well, actually, I'll read this one out loud from Man City for Life. He goes, "You lot are being impatient. Trust the process. Trust the process. Out players are getting old, and it's catching up with us. And you lot hit the panic button. Are we not allowed an off season, which we aren't having because we're second?" So I get the sentiment. We're if it came across, and maybe that's why Martin left. If it came across like we were doom and gloom, and Pep won't get this right, and this season's a write off, and give the title to Arsenal. No, we definitely weren't saying that. We were just pointing out the difficulties of what the team's showing and the inconsistencies. And again, my frustration with regards to knowing how great Haaland is and how dangerous he is, and how I'm sure center backs stress to have to defend him, and we make it easy on them, was some of our points. But thank you guys all in the comments.
And I think it's 100% inevitable. Teams have transition years and everything else, and so I don't see anyone here throwing the toys out of the pram or having else. I think I just see everyone saying that we have problems, and there's probably a whole lot of different solutions, and it's going to be a little while till everything's back to normal. I do wonder a bit what happened around the Copenhagen Liverpool game, because to me, before that, things, with the exception of Newcastle, generally things were looking pretty good. And then we had that Copenhagen game where we dropped a lot of players because it was almost a dead rubber. And then we went to Liverpool and played really weird tactics, and nothing's been quite right since then. So something, luckily we've got good enough players and a good enough squad, and that we still in an off period can be the second best team in the country. But something around then happened, because there was I thought a bit of a step off in, a little bit of a step off in attitude, and I think the World Cup for some teams has probably really hurt us, because I think the World Cup for Belgium and for Portugal was a bit of a disaster. It was really a disaster for England, but because England has a way to try and pretend they're still gallantly successful when they go out in the last 16 or quarterfinals. It wasn't seen as a disaster, but it was a disaster. So a lot of those players who've gone, and something they've looked forward to all their lives, but in the middle of the season, it's been an absolute disaster. And, it's affected them, and understandably, their last chance for some of them to go to a World Cup. So, but it is what it is, and we work through it. We fix things one by one, and before anyone knows it, we'll be back.
Yeah, and then you're right, Rich.
And then we'll get relegated to the non-league, and we'll be really back.
We have forgotten it's a weird season. We were saying this before the World Cup. We said it kind of just after the World Cup that it was a weird season with the World Cup being in the middle. And I think all the points you made, Rich, are quite valid. Some players have come back, and they've not come back in the right frame of mind, not in the right frame of shape. And it has affected us, probably affected them more than we know. Do you know what I mean? As well as everything else going on. So it's just...
It certainly affected Cancelo, didn't it? Because didn't he get dropped in the World Cup as well in the Portuguese side? So he's come back with a real, problem, hasn't he?
Yeah, and that's been there ever since he started at was it Valencia? That attitude has always been there. That he's always wants to play. He's very kind of dogged. If he's not playing, he's really unhappy. And obviously, he came back. Things were problems and issues for him, and then it's led to him going out on loan. So that will affect the dressing room as well.
Martin. How are you, mate? You all right? You all right?
Yeah. Sorry, I was just on the phone to my mum. No, at the end of the day, listen, I don't mind anyone can criticise the team. It's fine. Do I think the criticisms are going over the top? Yeah. But I've said this on Beta's channel, said it on Carl's channel, said it on Patrick's channel. I just do think some of the criticism is way over the top. I think we've not given Arsenal enough credit. I
think Arsenal deserve huge credit.
I've always said I think this season transitional. I think we have aging midfielders. We have players who don't want to be within the club. And we're playing this 3-2-2-3 or 3-box-3, whichever you want to call it, simply because we have a number 9 who's not mobile.
Yeah.
Got to remember, you've got a number 9 who's stuck up there, who is trying his very best to go backwards into the midfield. But the simple fact is he's not quite there yet. And when we played a false 9, it was very fluent. You had everyone taking turns as the 9, from Foden to Sterling to KDB to even João Cancelo at times. And it was ever moving. Now it's not. Now it's just not that system. We don't have the players to be playing this free-flowing football that we all once had. We've tried it. Tried Cole Palmer on the wing. He's not ready. Tried Bernardo on the wing. He isn't ready. He isn't really that sort of a player. He's already come out and said he prefers the deep sort of lining role, the CDM role. So the simple fact is, where I get a little bit frustrated is people are begging for something we just haven't got the tools for at the moment. And to me, to be second top goal scorers in the league, and we're in a transitional season, I'd snap your hand off for that. And we're still within a shout of winning the league. I just don't want it. And Pet even made this comment after the Spurs game of it's too comfortable. As fans, we've all become too comfortable of this. We should be top. We should be playing sexy football. And sometimes,
do you think that's what he means by too comfortable?
Yeah. Major style, I think that's what it means. It is, we expect that we've got to win and win in a certain style, and we've got to be 10 clear at the top. And when we're not sort of there, it's sort of it hurts. And I get it, because for 4 years we have been there.
I think the players are also too comfortable. They've got that.
Yeah, I think everything's too comfortable. The players, the manager, the fans, the staff. I think everyone's gone into this too comfortable situation.
This is what I'd like to add to that, because we know that us as fans and football is an emotional game, and I get it. When we take away the emotion and we're going to look at it logically, yeah, it's not as bad as we're saying it is. But then when we look at some of these results, and I get it that these are away games, right? I wanted us to put our foot on the necks of Liverpool, just because this rivalry that we've had for so many years, and seeing them being, what are they, 11th or 10th in the league, and even when we played them, their form was not looking good. I wanted us to slap them. I wanted us to impose our will on them. And when we look at that match and we look at Pep's decisions, we're scratching our heads. Disappointment. I get it. We move on. We now also, after slapping United at home 6-3, we get a chance to then go to their home. And I get the calls. I think we had an epic post-match stream where I was in the car, heated in a freezing cold in my car, but heated because of the result. But again, another match where we're like, this is our chance again to impose our will and show who City are, because our form's kind of been like that. I get it, an away loss. We come to Spurs, and it's the same thing again. So I get it. It's a transition. I get it that we've got new players and old players have left, players that we've trusted have left. But it's the emotion of, we have these rivals, we have these big clubs, we have these derbies that we're like, We have these curses that have been told we've never scored or won at, and it's like, that's the performance we put in. I think that's what many of us are kind of coming from, and we're obviously going to root on the players and want to get the result, but it's so inconsistent. It's for the big games. It's like we want.
Totally is. But like Charlie said, the top scorers don't win as a trophy. Is it a bad thing we don't win a trophy?
No, he has to win a trophy, Martin.
So we have to win a trophy this year.
No, we're going to do a disservice for the effort that Haaland has put in, for how dominant he has been, and for how dangerous he is, for it to be a hollow record. I'm not saying we have to. I'm not saying that we demand trophies every year. But I don't want him to have the same result as Salah, who, when he set the record, Liverpool didn't win a damn thing. I don't want the goals just to be we got the gold record. And
we're actually, if you look at the way we're playing in the Premier League, we are in perfect Champions League winning form, because nearly every English side who's won the Champions League has won the Champions League when they've been playing terribly in the Premier League. You know, Chelsea, Liverpool, Chelsea both times were struggling to get top four, let alone second. Liverpool won it in fifth, didn't they, and stole the Champions League place from Everton. So you've actually seen it quite often being only when teams have been playing poorly in the Premier League and rested in the Premier League have they, actually been, able to go and win the Champions League. So the irony is this season it might be like it was for Chelsea and Liverpool. They're all whining and whinging and going crap in the league, and then they win the Champions League and it becomes the best ever season. So, it wouldn't surprise me massively that the one time we do it is the one time when we're probably a worse side than we have been in the 5 or 10 years prior. We could have won the Champions League, but didn't when we. So,
yeah.
I just have a funny feeling that's what's going to happen.
Could you? I mean, because we're saying that the players in the Premier League aren't. It hasn't been good, but so when the Champions League comes back, could it go one of two ways? Could it be we could be excellent in the Champions League, or could it actually affect our form even more?
Well, it might affect our form, but we might, you don't have to play well and be in good form to get through the Champions League. Real Madrid won last season's Champions League, and on any objective statistical or measure of watching the games, they were outplayed in all of the knockout stages of the tournament. Paris and City could have been 5 or 6 goals better than them in those ties very easily. Chelsea probably deserved to beat them. They weren't playing that well at all, and they won the Champions League. There's no way Real Madrid, on the balance of play of last season, were better than Liverpool. Liverpool played better until they ran out of steam than Real Madrid by any measure. So in that sense, we might not play that great in the Champions League, but actually we might jag some 1-0 wins and keep going through. And that's what can happen in the Champions League. Premier League, you have to play well. You have to, ultimately you win it by playing the best, being the best team over 38 games. So you can't have bad form. Champions League, you can jag wins playing poorly.
So do you hear that, Vader? According to Rich, it's coming home.
I'm a clip him.
Can I just, I understand, like I said.
And then the Premier League will come out, deduct us 25 points, and we won't care because we'll already have qualified as winners.
You got to realise Arsenal have lost 2 games all season, which is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
Their form's up there with the Centurions, pretty much.
Exactly. This is my point. And this is why I think some of this. Are City playing great football? No. Are we playing football that we probably have to do right now? Yes. Just simply because of the tools we have, the players we've sold, the players we have. We don't have this quick flash, away we go footballers to do it. We just don't. For me, anyway. I'm going to ask this, and I'm probably going to get myself back wound up here.
Go on, ask it. Rich, you ready? Ozzy, you ready?
Already. Strapping.
Okay. Go on,
Is it a bad season if City go trophyless this year? Just go round, yes or no.
I'll say it's a bad season if we don't compete for trophies.
No.
Don't
change the leading question. Say compete.
I think, Martin, I think we have to give contextual answers because, for me, I don't mind not winning stuff if I watch City and I'm excited and I enjoy it. You know, I've had plenty of seasons where we've, most seasons in my City life, I've enjoyed it.
Where we go 6 months.
But that was.
I was there at every game that season.
Come on now.
That was tedious, but I loved the Brian Horton era. I loved the Kevin Keegan era. And we didn't win stuff, but it was exciting. It was exciting, and my biggest thing in recent weeks hasn't been the results. It's been I've just been a bit bored by the games, and that almost gets to the point where it's like win 1-0, lose 1-0. It was just a bit boring. I mean, Bournemouth was a 4-0 win. It was the most boring game of my life. It was
I'm laughing at this guy yesterday. Let's go with the 20-minute.
Yeah. This season will be a bad season if we don't win anything. Yes, because it's boring. It's been boring football, and we won't have won anything.
I'm copping out. I'm not answering that question. I've got. Of course not. It's not a terrible season if we don't win a trophy, but it is a terrible season if we're not competing the way we can. And that's always how I've enjoyed football. That's always how I've enjoyed City. I've wanted us to fight even before we were like winning consistently. And now that we do, that's what I expect. So I just feel for Haaland. If he goes out there and he shatters this record and it means, hey, you won the Golden Boot for the league, and that's all that you get. I would hate that for him. But
Harry Kane's been doing that.
And it sounds like Rich's dog agrees with me. So I'm a bounce. Thank you guys for having me on the show always, and we'll be talking Aston Villa post match. I think the next time I see you guys. So I've got to run. Martin, thanks for having me on. Rich, Alan, Ozzy.
See you later,
thanks,
mate.
guys.
I think there's a split here. Go on, Alan. Yes or no?
No, it's not.
Calm down, Man City for life. Relax.
Yeah. No, it's not a disaster. No, it's not. But I just want to see us compete for trophies, and that's it. I'll be satisfied with that, with the side we've got.
Okay. Rich, was yours yes or no? Because I lost track when we started going down the Bournemouth road.
I've forgotten what the question was. Whether it was
Is it?
Well, no, I've forgotten where. I know what the question was, but was it yes or no? If we don't
Are you a
win,
politician?
Yeah, no. What I mean is, I haven't really enjoyed this season that much in comparison to other seasons, and therefore it's not a great season. So if we don't win anything, I mean, in some ways it's neither here nor there. But if we don't win anything, it has to be seen as a bad season.
How times have changed, Dave Martin.
Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm stuck.
Yeah, it is you.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just no. It's not. No, I don't think it is. No. And maybe it's because I'm like we always said we'd never be them down the road. I don't know. Maybe it's me. It's all opinions. Go on, Ozzy.
I'm kind of going down the line of Rich and Alan, really, where I think it is potentially a bad season just because we know what these players and this manager can do. We've seen them do it over the last 5 seasons. Okay. Yeah. And even when we lost the league to Liverpool, it was just, we lost it because we just lost to the better team that season. And we could all accept it. We could all just go, they won it. Fair enough. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it is a potential bad season if we don't win anything, because we just know this team can do much better. We know this manager can get more out of these players. So I think it is sad if we don't win anything. For me, the league is very much up and down at the moment. I'm not saying we can't beat Arsenal to the title, because there is that possibility, and I think I think we've probably got more chance in the FA Cup or the Champions League this season, because as Rich has said, because we're playing, and so much, you've said, Martin, because we're playing this way, I think we are set up for more club competition than we are for the league this season, sadly. So I think as long as the effort is shown more than it is being right now, then fair enough. If we don't win anything, and the longer the effort is put back in and everything like that, I can accept it a lot more than I can currently.
Yeah.
So
I get everyone, and listen, like I said, I get we've changed. I get we're not little old Manchester City from 1999 anymore. The point I will say is, though, Liverpool, Chelsea have spent big. Newcastle are going to spend big. Arsenal and now improved. We're going to come and improve. There's only so many trophies. And this is what's scaring me at the minute. And this is where I'm starting to lose my head a little bit, especially this season. Of if we're going to go into every season and if we don't win a trophy, it's a failure, then I think you're setting yourself up for failure straight away, because this league is going to become more competitive than it's ever become. Everyone's going to start competing. Everyone's going to start challenging. There's more money than ever before. And I just get to a point where I'm like, so it's trophies a bust sort of thing. And that's the way I'm sort of feeling a bit. And I get things have changed, but I don't know. It does break my heart a little bit when I hear some of this. Yeah, if we don't win a trophy, it's a failure. And it's their opinions. I respect everyone's opinions, but it can still kind of break my heart a little bit when I hear that. Sorry, but it does. It breaks me in two. Because I don't know how we've got to this. The club changed. The fans, I don't know.
It's a long time since 1998, which is that picture of me there.
No, I know. I'm not saying we should go back there. I'm just saying,
you're right there, Martin. I mean,
I don't know. It breaks me a little bit. It saddens me. Sorry.
Yeah, Martin. I think what you were saying about the league is getting more competitive, because obviously you've now got the likes of Newcastle, who have got the richest owners in the entire world, and they're going to be able to spend a lot more than they ever have done. Okay, they're not going to be able to spend like previous clubs have, like City, Chelsea, and United and Liverpool, but they are going to be able to spend money to make their squads better, especially if they do stay in the top four. And you're right. I think the more this continues, I mean, today the Super League has come back out rearing its ugly head. But the thing is that all the clubs in Europe, especially the Spain teams and Italian teams, they're worried because they're looking now at the Premier League, and the Premier League has now become the Super League. Okay, and that is the big thing now, that this league now has got so much money in it. Do you know what I mean? It is going to become a lot harder. And you're right, there are only 4 trophies, if you don't include the Community Shield, where you can win.
That's why the Super League will happen, because they want to compete with the Premier League. That's a fact. It will happen. We might not like it, but it will happen.
I think the difficulty thing is, though, Alan, the difficulty is that for the Super League to really happen, is that it's going to have English teams, and now the government have brought in this legislation to say that the Premier Leagues can't do that. I think that's the difficulty for Europe.
When does the white paper come out? Is it tomorrow for you?
I thought it was Monday. Am I wrong?
Right. Okay. They've got to sign it, haven't they? They've got to recommend and sign something to stop them from doing it.
See, no, I'm not happy with media. No, but I'm not. I'm a Manchester City fan for being a fan, not because of trophies. That's me, and if that makes me happy with media, being mediocre, then fine. But if the trophies all disappear tomorrow, Pardo, I'm not going to stop supporting them. There's the difference. I'm sorry, but it's the big difference here. If City stopped winning trophies tomorrow and we didn't win one for the next 10 years, so be it.
The thing is, Martin, is that you're right, but you're also slightly wrong at the same time, because if you're not competing, especially a club now the size of City, it is a failure, because you need to be competing. I'm not saying you're always going to win the title, but if you're not even competing at this level now, then that is a failure. Because City have become that club now.
It is. The brief from the owners is that at least is to compete for trophies.
You want all the owners out. You want all the board sacked and gone a minute ago, Alan.
I wanted some of the board to go who were responsible for running the operations of the club. That's what I said.
No, I'm joking.
I never said all the board or the owners. Right? I said there's people responsible for what's happened for the last 10 years, and I don't think they managed it well enough. To be fair.
I mean, the thing is, if we get expelled down to League Two, apart from Rich having a partner, what we do?
We can't go.
Giving up the ghost and all, forgetting it and going home and off to support Chelsea again. We all digging Chelsea shirts back out the wardrobe. Is this what we're doing?
You know, anyone who changed teams because they're not going well should be out anyway, and we don't.
I know, but I don't. How is second mediocre? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I flipped my lid. I'm flipping my lid here tonight.
I don't think anyone said second mediocre.
I think partly we're second because it's football. It's about the football, not about the league.
Also, I'm waiting for Ant and Deck to jump out in a minute.
Yeah, it's about football. It's about the football, not the league position. Honestly, second, we could be at the moment. We're second.
Yeah, we're top goal scorers, but it's boring football. Jeez, I don't want to see where we are, though.
It is boring football. It hasn't been good this season, and that's reality.
Do you want Rudolph in charge?
And the fact is, the reason we're second is because 3 of our probably 4 biggest rivals are having absolute meltdowns this season. Chelsea have been woeful. Liverpool have been in relegation form for most of the last 3 months, and Spurs have also been woeful, just unfortunately not quite as woeful as us last weekend. There's only really, if you look at the top of the league, Newcastle are a team who were bottom, and Martin had written off as one of the worst sides to ever play the game, who had no hope about a year ago. And they're now competing for second and third place. A team that, had signed Chris Wood. So to me, the fact, that's all credit to Eddie Howe, and I think he's done an amazing job, but they should not have been able to just sneak up and almost, United were a relegation team till the end of last season. They were absolutely awful. They're back, challenging for second. So we're lucky. We're second because Chelsea and Liverpool and Spurs have gone off a cliff.
Yeah, that's true.
This is my point.
United and Newcastle should be competing for fifth.
Like I'm picking on you, and I'm not. I'm not. I think we're just having a difference of opinion tonight, mate. You just said never stop. Listen, I'm not saying you won't, but I'll never accept second best after the standards we set. This was Pep's whole argument after Tottenham about being too.
Do you accept that Roberto Mancini changed the mentality of the whole club, including the fans? And he did.
Alan, will you get off your Roberto Mancini thing? He's put us in the dock.
I love him. Listen.
He put us in the dock with his dodgy payments.
Mate, he's not done. According to, we'll have to see on that one, won't we? If they have or they
haven't. Oh, sorry. Roberto Mancini's king. He's done that wrong.
I get Alan's point, though. I do see where he's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, he changed the mentality of everyone, including the fans.
Yeah, I can see.
I'm just listen. You're not going to get any different out of me. Sorry, but I'm a City fan, and I don't class second as a failure. If second's a failure, then Jesus, every club's going to fail then, nearly. Every club's going to fail then.
Yeah,
and nobody can say anything about Liverpool or United fans ever again. You can't in one breath go, look at them, they think they're entitled, and look at them, it's that and the other. And then when we're second, we have an absolute meltdown.
Again,
you're not seeing
who are you saying is having a meltdown, Alan, Martin?
So, but I read tonight we're mediocre and we're second.
And where are you reading
Is that
this?
not OTT to you, Ozzy?
Well, where are you reading it, Martin? Because if it's on social media,
I'll put it up 4 times.
Yeah, but there's always going to be certain people who are going to have a little bit of a meltdown, and things look worse written than they do when we're talking about stuff. So, again, I don't think me, Alan, Rich, or Vater have been kind of over the top tonight and all doom and gloom, and I don't think most of the chat have either. So,
doom and gloom's good for me, Ozzy, because I like it. So I'm smiling and happy. The prospect of relegation, is just wonderful. I think that's
Rich. If we get relegated, so we go over the first 3-4 games, we'll fly back and watch.
If it's non-league, this is my point. I'll never stop supporting City, but I'll never second best after the standards we have set.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? So don't tell me I'm wrong.
That tells me
working away. That's what it tells me.
Jeez, yes.
Honestly, Martin
wants to argue everything everybody say tonight.
As my father used to say to me, he said, Alan, you get nothing for second place.
Well, you get silver actually, Alan, but
it's just a difference of opinion, and I get it. If you want to believe that, fine. I can believe what I want to think. You can all believe what you want to believe. That's fine. It's a difference of opinion. We don't have to agree.
No, but Martin, I can see with that comment there, I can see what they mean, because we haven't been playing at our best.
Jesus.
No.
Anything I say tonight, you're disagreeing with us there.
If you're not going to let me make a point, I can't make it. You asked me a question, so you want me to answer it, or do you want to keep talking over me? Which one is it?
Carry on.
Thank you. So my point I was trying to make is I was saying I understand where that person's coming from in some respects, because they're saying with this team, with this manager, and the last 5 seasons, you can understand with the levels dropping off, and the levels have dropped off to look worse than they are because we are second. It's the performances and the attitude of the players. Those are the things I think that comment is where it's coming from. I could be wrong unless that person wants to come back in the chat and counter me and say, no, it is because we are in second and we should be in first. I don't believe that's the case. I just think it is the performances have been woeful. Okay, and Rich has said this as well, and Alan as well. It's just not been good enough. It's not been to the standard that we usually would see from this manager, from these players. Okay,
hence why Caldo and Sirianni went in the change rooms 45 minutes last week, which is true.
Yeah. Thank you,
Martin.
No, we'll have a wrap up. I think we're best just wrapping up.
Mate, it is what it is. The WhatsApp phone call will come in about 15 minutes after this stream. And
mate, leave it, no point. We'll have a chat afterwards.
Hopefully we'll have a performance tomorrow on weekend, against Villa, and we can all cheer up and be a bit more positive about the way things are. We've not had a good week. We all know we haven't. So
yeah, and it's all opinions. Everyone has the right to their own opinion. Martin, you definitely have the right to your opinion. You see the way you see it. I see it one way. So
I'm very sad at the way the fan base has gone. Sorry, but I am. Me.
Are you going to have an argument with that guy behind you?
No, it's entitled to opinions, but I don't want to sit on here week in, week out and we're second. Why aren't we winning? Why aren't we doing this? I'm not in for that. So if other people want to do that, that's fine. It's not my bag. Sorry, but it's not.
Mm.
I'm a Manchester City supporter, not a pot supporter.
It's inevitable with success. It's why
just me, and that's what upsets me.
It's why a chunk of old
we never become.
It's why a chunk of old, Greater Manchester Reds went off and formed a different club, because it's a lot. There's a lot of things that are a lot better. I've got a good mate who's a Sheffield Wednesday fan, and I'm a bit envious at times. He gets far more joy out of football than. Even in Australia, meeting up with small groups of, diehard fans and, promotions and relegations and everything, he doesn't have to waste his time, worrying about cartels and worrying about, people who wouldn't know a lawyer from a zebra crossing giving their opinions on City's account.
True, very true.
It's all just a bit tedious, and the trouble is when you do win nearly every week and you do win title after title, then anything apart from winning every week and title after title is failure, and we have to accept that, and a lot of the fans do think that, and the trouble with that is it means then ultimately winning becomes a bit dull if you just win every week. So some of that excitement of football comes from the highs and the lows, and when you don't have the lows, you almost have to invent lows, and your lows become second place, and that's what gets people fired up, because if you don't have lows, you don't have highs, and that's one of the basic tenets of life. So maybe some of the people who are having second as a low are just doing that because they need that low so that they can actually enjoy the wins when they come back.
Alan?
I echo Rich's points. At the end of the day, we want City to win. We want City to do well. Of course we do. We're all supporters of the club. We've had a bad week. Let's just pray that we get it right on weekend, and everyone can start cheering up, having a smile on the face again. Because we're not going to lie. We've all had a pretty emotional week with what's going on.
No, and it's fine. Listen, it is what it is. We'll see. But I'm just, I just feel like all I do week in, week out is defend the team and the club, even against a lot of our own fans. That's how I feel like I do now, and it scares me.
Yeah, we want City to do well, though, Martin. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but we're still in the FA Cup. We're still in the next round of Champions League. We're second in the league, and we're top goal scorers because we're not playing sexy football.
Yeah, well mate. The last
Liverpool were.
Yeah, well, we can only go off our last performance, and that was pathetic. So, we've got issues at the moment in the changing rooms. We've got issues at the club, which we have, and the fans are worried, and naturally are worried.
Yeah, it's been a very emotional, as Alan said, and hopefully a bounce back, at the weekend, and then we move on to Arsenal, and hopefully, we get them to worry a bit more about, us kind of competing and hopefully winning, So
a lot of things have been said about the club, like Ozzy mentioned about the overlap program. I saw that on YouTube. A lot of and the non-stop things have been said on the TV here and in England, because I see them, because you can get anything on YouTube. It hurts. It does hurt, and and I'm worried. I'm very worried.
Anyway, we'll see. We'll be there on Sunday, screaming and shouting.
Martin will be in the family stand. Come on, family stand. Get the atmosphere going.
Alan will have his remote control out.
I will. I'll be in the Imperial, actually.
Might have been told to sit down and be quiet again.
Yeah, you will, yeah. Sit down, Martin. No!
You tell him to shut up, Martin. Tell him, you're going to support City how you see.
If you do, I'll say we'll be back with post-match, and I've been invited onto the 9320 pubcast as well on Sunday nights.
Oh, have you?
Savage. Yeah.
Oh, I'm coming on there, definitely. I'm coming watching. I'm going to watch that.
You can watch all day long. But yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think the one thing all of us as Blues need to do is just be a bit more thick-skinned about some of the other. Honestly, who cares what plastic Reds of, either their, their Greater Manchester or their Greater Merseyside, plastic Red History Brigade thing. I mean, I don't honestly care. And, and honestly, the whole thing, if someone sets up rules to try and fix a game and you fight against them, boo-hoo, and if we come second, boo-hoo. We've seen much worse, and I think I just want to see a bit of the fun back in it, and that's what I think. You can see even Martin, being positive. It's taking a bit of a fun out the game at the moment, and
so I'm being positive, and that's taking the fun out of it.
No, but you're still not. You're still not. But you're negative about the fact you can't be positive. I can just see.
No, it is true. At the end of the day, I feel when I have to go,
sucking the joy out of the game.
I sit there and go, we're second.
Yeah.
And I feel and I'm all right with that. And I feel like I'm wrong for saying I'm all right.
Yeah, because the Premier League and the money in the game and the success and so much stuff that is good does suck some of the joy out of the game. It sucks the joy out of the game.
9 more goals in Arsenal this season, but gosh, we're boring.
But it was far better when we were 4-0 down to West Brom after half an hour and we were all dancing discos on our chairs.
Do you know what makes me laugh though? People go, the football's boring. We were 2-0 down against Tottenham and won 4-2 in the second half. How the frig's that boring?
Or one of my personal favourites was 4 City fans who, for the entire second half of the last game at Elm Park, where we lost 3-0, were standing. 4 of them spent the entire second half of the game with their back to the game, pretending to stargaze. Drinking a sneaky beer and pretending to stargaze up into the sky behind us, totally ignoring. Dancing discos as we're losing 4-0. I mean, we've got to have a bit of joy back in the game, and I think that's just what at the moment.
Going fancy dress at Stoke City away on Boxing Day.
At the end of the day, this season I watched so I won't name who they are, but I watched some City fan channels. Should Pep be sacked?
Oh,
and I'm like, you can imagine it as I'm frothing at the mouth, thinking, what the hell is this guy on? And I'm like, what? Sorry, I flipped the lid. And this is what I'm reading this year. And it's getting me more and more angry. It's taking the fun out of going to games. Because I'm like, we're drawing. It's the end of the world. We're only winning 1-0. Oh, it's boring, this. Like, what is going on? Like, we've got to be 9-0 up and sexy, fluent, great football. And I just, maybe it's me. I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a dinosaur for this. Maybe I need to give it all up and give up.
You wouldn't know what to do on a Saturday night, on a Saturday, Sunday afternoon.
No, listen, and do you know the sad thing is, Alan? I know loads of City fans who jacked it in this season. They've jacked it.
What?
Over numerous things. And Rich, you know people as well who jacked it all in this year because it's just fun's gone. The fun's gone. Gone.
Well,
completely gone.
Martin, I need you to do me a favour tonight. Can you do me a favour tonight when you're in Manchester? And when you're driving around the Etihad tonight and you get your Starbucks, right? Get out your car where you can sneak in and just give the stadium a hug.
See, told you I'm not lying. Alec Johnson's even seen him.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? From we flipped lids. You know, this is what I mean by I'd be scared shitless if we're in Liverpool's position, what some of the reactions would have been.
I think.
Right, wow. And you know what? We'll smash Villa on Sunday.
Yeah.
We'll beat them 5-0. And I can't wait for the chance. We've been cheating every year. City going down with a billion. We cheat when we want. We're Man City. We cheat when we want. They're all going to come out, and I can't wait because that's man humour.
Yeah,
I can't wait. You know, Sunday it will be fun because the humour will come back to it on Sunday, and we'll take the piss out of ourselves again, and we'll laugh and we'll joke.
It might get the atmosphere going. I think the
atmosphere is going to be rocking on Sunday. I can't wait.
The Premier League.
I'm going to go in, boo that Premier League anthem right out of it.
Boom.
Blue moon over the top of it. The Premier League can kiss my rosy blue ass.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, that's it. End of.
And I think the main difference is between us and the Red Scouts is that we're blaming ourselves for any drop off this year. You know, we're looking at ourselves and what Pep's done, what the players done, everything else. The Scousers will just be sitting there making every excuse under the sun. They'll be, it'll be the wind, it'll be the grass, it'll be Klopp's teeth a bit shiny. It'll be us cheating. Anyway. It'll just be everything.
Let's print some fake money and get all that rolling around. I can't wait. This is what I love. Let's get the humour. Let's sing Super League. Here we go. Let's get it all out. I don't care. Stick it right up them. I'm just, Anyway.
I'm going to go. We're going to go.
Yeah, so that's the end of that.
So's Rich. You see he's looking at emails.
Yeah.
So we're going to go.
Anyone want to end on anything before we say goodnight?
City's going down with $1 billion in the bank. $1 billion in the bank. $1 billion in the bank.
All I want to say is
going down with $1 billion in the bank. $1 billion in the bank. $1 billion in the bank. We're going up.
This is a message. This is a message to Ryan Reynolds. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. Division 2 next season. City Wrexham.
Are you supporting?
Good night, guys.
You supporting another club?
No, City Wrexham playing them in the Division 2 next season.
We'll get demoted 2 divisions.
If we do get relegated, that's 4 years away. Calm down. Wrexham will be in the Premier League by the time.
So we go for Wrexham away next year. So we fly home for the Wrexham away game.
As long as Ryan and Blake are hosting me, that's fine.
Yeah. That's it. Let's all wear prison PJs. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, I do have to go.
Yeah. Anyway, take care. We'll be back Sunday.
Bye, guys. See you later. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Bye, bye.